Welcome to Steve Cooks episode 3. We are going with something a little simpler. If you watched last episode and you're like, geez, that was long and it's complicated, which it wasn't. We're going to my first recipe, the first thing that I ever really made and that I devised and that I made myself. I followed a couple recipes in the past before for, I think, a stir fry when I was 17 and pancakes. We've already talked about that. But I came up with this soup after experimenting. My wife calls it Bachelor Soup, and I'm like, I don't like it. She's like, okay, well, what do you call it? And I say, my beefy, cheesy tomato noodle soup with cream of tomato.
Let's go with Bachelor Soup.
Exactly. I can't think of a better phrase for it, so it's Bachelor Soup for the time being. Very, very simple stuff. Friggin' Campbell's tomato soup. Milk, because if you're using water for your tomato soup, it's watery. Cream of tomato soup is the way to go. The Mr. Noodle packets. Notice this is beef flavor. Now this recipe also works with vegetable. Vegetable Mr. Noodle.
Not chicken?
No. The noodles are noodles, but I mean it refers to the beef base. Like the vegetable beef base, the vegetable base and the beef base for the Mr. Noodles are what I want. Barring that, if you want to make it and you've got just noodles, get yourself something like this beef base. But I mean, this is harder to measure out, whereas that's pre-packaged. And then my secret ingredient: cheese.
Yum.
I love cheese. This is real cheese. I know it's kind of wrapped in saran wrap right now, but this is real. Honest to goodness, this is Cracker Barrel, Armstrong. I don't know. But this is good. This is aged cheddar. I like aged cheddar because you can taste it. Marble, to me, tastes like nothing.
That's fair.
It's kind of chewy, kind of rubbery. I like cheese that bites back. So that's it. That's it. Oh well, I mean, if you want to get a bit more into it, salt and pepper, I guess. But that's about it. So let's get a crack-a-lackin'.
Nom nom nom.
Oh, nom nom nom.
Have you ever thought about putting ground beef in this?
Ground beef. I haven't thought of it. Sounds like an interesting idea. Here's one thing. A lot of people will just like. I open cans oddly. Most people will like open it from the side, and then you kind of have to fish out the lid, and it can scrape them up. I like opening it like this from the top because it then grabs the lid too. I don't have to touch the gooiness.
Maybe.
Give it a rinse. And then it's ready for recycling. Like that.
Ta-da!
Bang. Okay. Now, this Bachelor Soup. If it's left out for a bit, like I'm not talking about like overnight, but like even for a half hour, because the cheese, it'll start to kind of harden at the top. Harden's not quite the right word.
Oh, it gets the skin.
Yeah, but it's like kind of thick skin. Don't be discouraged. Just give it a stir. It's fine. That's only because of the cheese. When you watch me put in the cheese, you may be saying to yourself, Steve, that's really a lot of cheese. If you've watched the last episode, you would know I don't believe in that phrase.
There's no such thing as too much cheese.
No. But okay, I'm going to turn this on, not to max.
Not to maximum.
Now, in order to capture all the tomato stuff, I don't know if you guys do this at home, but I fill the can with milk. A, this way it helps proportion, and B, you get all the tomatoes, basically all the tomato soup out. And so it's okay, that was a really bad example. So you basically get most, if not all, of the tomato soup. Then it doesn't feel like you're putting too much to waste. Okay, you know what? It's ordinarily this works, but today apparently not.
That's because the camera's on.
Obviously. I I once had a friend, when I first started making this regularly, I had one of my roommates. I made some and I left it out for her, and she came back really late, and she saw it, and I offered some to her, and she said, no, that's okay, and then she kind of scrunched up her face. She said, it looks kind of icky.
Huh.
Never say that! I was deeply offended. Yes, it did have the film at the top, but I was still like, well, like for starters, it was really just tomato soup with noodles, but and it was a bit filmy at the top, but tomato filmy. Anyways, if someone goes to all the trouble to make a meal for you, unless you are allergic or something, shut up.
Mark cooked it.
That's right. Now.
I take that back.
What?
What?
Huh?
Never mind.
Now, Brenna, you can, there's a couple schools of thought when it comes to Mr. Noodle and Soup. One is to break them beforehand, the other is to dump and then break it in. I'm one of those break them beforehand type guys. I actually only like to do a couple so that we get big long noodles. Yeah. Some of you at home undoubtedly, oh, there we go. Undoubtedly are rolling your eyes and saying, Steve, this is barely a recipe. Yada, yada, yada. You know, boring, snooze. Let me just say right now that if you are one of those people, great. Watch our next episode's gonna be more complicated. Watch that one. But there are plenty of poor hapless fools out there who couldn't cook if their life depended on them. And you know what? There's hope for you guys out there. For example, I basically devised this exact thing when I was 17. I mean, everyone's had tomato soup with noodles, but you know that's the cheesiness and whatnot. I devised this when I was 17. You can do it, really. It's I'd say even a little easier than Kraft dinner. But that's my bias coming through. Now for the cheese. I like to have the cheese early on so that it melts in with it. And you know what? I'll be honest. I'll even slice up wedges or pieces of cheese and stick it in the bowl of soup that I then dump the soup into. I should really stop doing that.
Why?
So that's a lot of cheese.
So?
See, Daniel and I follow on the same school of thought.
Yay!
So well, let's get some of this cheese in here. So that when that's boiling, this cheese is actually going to melt in and be one with the soup. It will become the soup. This is the most complicated saran wrap job I've ever seen in my life. Oh, okay, it's a couple pieces. Alright, we're gonna figure this out, guys. Alright, so usually I like to take a chunk about big.
That's a big chunk.
Yeah, this is a fairly big chunk. And then I like to cube them, I guess.
That's a rectangle, not a cube.
That's because I haven't sliced them in half yet.
Right.
Now if you're like, Steve, what are you talking about? This isn't a lot of cheese. Yes, this is. This is a lot of cheese. Like, this is a fair one.
So you don't grate them or anything? Just
you know, I could.
like
Grating them would probably help them melt a little more, but I'll be honest, that's a lot more work.
Good point.
Yeah. Should we add a little more cheese?
Yes.
Just
a little more. Okay, well,
another
fair
thing,
enough.
remember to stir constantly. Like, I mean, not but just stir it around a lot. Otherwise, as I know, it'll get stuck to the bottom. Especially with the cheese melting on it. That'll do it. Okay, so right about now, because we're starting. Normally, I don't make this much quantity. Like, you know, instead of 3 cans. Normally, I do 2 tops, so it's taking a little longer than it normally does. If you do 1 can, you can get about 2 bowls out of it. They won't be really filling bowls. Like a can will feed myself and my kid. So, and we'll be like, oh yeah. It's time to start adding this.